Hey everybody, and welcome back. Well, you got a little bit extra video last week to make up for the one I missed. That was because I was sort of popping in and out of the workshop when I could, so it wasn't really as planned as normal. When I came to put everything together, it was the hour, and I thought I can't be bothered splitting this up, as the general feedback is that you don't mind them. In fact, I quite enjoy them being longish. So there you go. Right, in fact, I popped in again today. This is, we won't get into the complications of when this is, because things get a little silly then. But anyway, I got some time, so I thought I'd come in and do a bit more. I have also, I was wondering what that was then. It's the 3 little holes where the plate would go. I might get one of those plates, I might not. Anyway, so I've completely lost my train of thought now. Oh yeah, so as I say, I popped in and out and done a couple of little jobs which I'm going to show you. They were nothing major, so I didn't worry about filming them. But what we're going to do this week is we're going to do the rear brake pedal first, because with that done, basically all I've got then is the top half of the engine to do. Now, I've actually got to go and have a little bit of laser surgery. I got a load of floaters. I had a floater in this eye, which was annoying, and then suddenly I got 2 or 3 in this one. And when I looked it up, excuse me for rubbing my eye, when I looked it up to see what could be done about them, which basically is very little, it mentioned that, and when I'm looking at medical things, I always go to the Mayo Clinic's website rather than just some bearded wonder putting his opinion out. So the Mayo Clinic said if you suddenly got floaters, you should go and have your eye looked at, because it could be a symptom of a retinal tear. So I went and had a look, and the last found a little hole with some sort of thing sticking out of it. Sounded disgusting. But anyway, she's sending me to a retina specialist, and she said they might decide to do nothing about it, or they might just, she said they put some gel in which allows them to look, and then they sort of stitch weld it with a laser. And she said she'd had it done and it was nothing special, so hey, we'll get it done. Anyway, you didn't really need to know that, did you? But what we're going to do, as I say, is this brake lever here and make a cable up for it. So first of all, let me just show you the couple of things that I've done while you've been away enjoying yourselves. First thing I did was the clutch cable, and what I ended up doing was simply shortening the one I'd got and taking that adjuster off the bottom. So I looked in the parts book and it has a split collar there. I think that's to give it more length so you can hook it onto the mechanism inside. I looked at the threads of this and the threads inside there. I can't see anything wrong with them, but it won't thread in any further than that. So at some later date, I'll look at that. But anyway, we've got a clutch cable on, so that's good. Right, next thing I did, this is the little, I don't know, exciter box thing for the ignition. You may remember that it had an ear on it which broke off, and I sort of did a little repair and everything. It seemed fine. I epoxied it. I obviously didn't glue it very well, because when I tightened it up it snapped off. So I suppose I should have shown you this. All I did was I took a piece of 1/4" alloy, drilled it and threaded it, and then at this end here I actually milled off 1/8, so there's like a step in it. Then this, as you can see, has got cable ties on. It's also glued on, so that's that nice and firm. No problem there. Next thing I did was put the last oil line on, which is the rocker feed. And I used the clear stuff for this because I like to see it go up to there. Because as I've mentioned before, if you're getting feed to the rockers, it means the entire oiling system's working. It means you're getting oil to the pump. It means the pump is pumping it into the crank. It means it's coming out the crank into the bottom, the sump. And the return side of the pump is working, because none of that would work if you didn't see oil here. Okay, so as long as you've got that sort of squirt of oil, as I say, this comes through intermittently, you'll know that everything is working in the oil system. So it's a good way off the chain there. I can almost get my finger in it, so that's fine. I was originally going to run it up here. You see that little hole? I was going to have a couple of cable ties, but that would have made it come up here. I didn't like that. So I fiddled around and I found that it would bend without kinking that much, so it's going to go up there. And I've also caught the wires here, and I'll show you something else there. Now you remember I was talking about how close the wires were to the chain, and actually with that tube in, I've put it in back to front. It now sticks up out the back with the rubber grommet on it. That stuck out so far, that was touching the chain, and I couldn't understand why, but it's like the chain tensioner. Of course, this chain with the normal sprocket on would actually be up here, so there'd be plenty of space for that. Also, I made that little doodad to go in there, so there's now, like, as I say, the equivalent of a, hang on, let's take it back out. I haven't quite finished this, but that was just tying it out. So there's the equivalent of a little dipstick, and that goes in and just holds the cables to one side. It's miles away from the chain. So, oh, last thing I'll show you, I suppose, is... Actually, let me move you around. So now I've got the clutch cable on, see it's got a little click. I don't know what that is, I've got to look at it. But that's working fine. Alright, let's have a look at this rear brake pedal. So, rear brake pedal. I've already cut the outer, put a couple of little ferrule things on. So one end is going to go into the adjuster. There. Oh, got your finger stuck. And the other end is going to come over. It's going to have to come outside, otherwise it's too tight to turn. Right, so it's going to go like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a little plate here, that's stainless steel. As I say, this is 1/4 inch, so I can drill it and tap it and it'll be a good solid mounting. I'll have a little piece sticking out, which that will go into, and the little piece sticking out will be slotted so the cable will go in it. And then that's going to go down, it'll actually be out here to give us a decent amount of leverage on the footrest. Then the inner cable will have a clevis thing on it, and that will go onto the pedal pivoting here. So the pedal's going to come out the bottom here, cable will go to it, have a foot thing on it, and that will be that. Alright, so I'm going to do something very slightly different here. Let me get a bit of paper. Now this is how I would normally make it. Not my best drawing, I must admit here. So, say that's the brake pedal, goes out to the brake pedal. That is welded onto a tube. And instead of the bolt just being in the tube, there's a collar, or a spacer, or whatever you want to call it, that the bolt goes through. And this is longer than this piece. So when that's bolted up tight to its mounting place, this can still turn on there. Because the part, so it's bolted up tight, but it's not gripping this. There's a little space at each end, right? Now then, we're a little short of space back there. Poor design on my part, but so I don't know, because it's a 3/8 bolt, I don't know about getting a big nut in the back end. So what I'm going to do is this piece here, I'm going to make it so that it's the usual thing, except here it's going to be like that. And there it's going to be threaded. Okay, so now the bolt will go through well, not the bolt will go through. It's actually going to be mounted at this end, so the bolt will go through, but it'll thread into this, and then our piece with the brake lever on will be on there. And I can put a couple of flats on this, and it doesn't have to be very big, and they'll make it really slim at this end. It doesn't look it from the drawing, but it would be a lot slimmer at this end. So let's make some measurements and turn up this piece. Now, as you can see, I haven't left myself much space there. I don't want to put it on this side because that would impinge on how much space you've got for your foot. And plus it would have to come up, you wouldn't, anyway, it's got to go in the back. But I've only got about a ½ inch to play with. So it's going to be a ½ inch long, maybe slightly more, maybe 9/16, and then about an 1/8, 3/16 the most, that will have the flats on. But let me hold on a second. There it is with a 3/8 nut on. Right, so there's the nut. Then there'd have to be a little thickness here for, you know, the inner piece, the sleeve, that's the word I was looking for before. So the actual pivot point of the footrest would be, God, my brains are not working this morning. I barely get 3/8 for the brake pedal pivot. So we're not going to get much more. As I say, it's only going to be a ½ inch, but every little bit helps in stopping it from twiddling like that. All right, so let's see about finding some material. So there's the piece made. Right, that will go up against the plate, and as I say, it's been threaded 3/8 fine. Then we have a piece of this 3/4 tube which goes on there, and if I screw it, actually I don't think it's big enough, but anyway, that will turn on there, and hang on, I know actually. With that pressed against the flat, see, when that's tightened up, it'll still turn. So I didn't show you the lathe work, so I'll show you the bit of milling, because what we've got to do now is put 2 flats on there. Now I've just measured this, and it is 821 thou. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 flats on. Actually, I could even put 4 flats on to make it easier, at 3/4. And as this is 3/4 tube, that means even where the flats are, we'll be pressing on it, or it'll have something to butt up against, I should say. So what we're going to do is put it in collet block, square collet block. So we'll touch that. Right, that is 821. We want it to be 750, so that's 71 thou. So we need to take 35, 36 off each side. So we'll put it in, take 30, touch off 36, touch off 36, so on until we have 4 sides done. All right, so let me set it up in the mill and I'll show you that. There it is set up in the mill. I've got this dinky little stop thing that I bought, which I actually had to modify because it wouldn't fit on the jaws. But now I've got a stop, so I'll take it off, touch here, zero it, take my, whatever it was, I'll look it up, 61 thou off. Then I can just simply turn this round, put it up against the stop, and we'll be indexed. Alright, if any of you are wondering why I'm not putting 6 flats on, it's because the more flats we put on, the smaller the flats are going to be, because they're going to impinge on each other. 4 flats will give me a nice bit for a spanner. If I put 6 on, they'd get a bit smaller, and I don't really want that. So I'm going to put 4 on. That will be fine. So I've got the I can never remember what the stupid acronym thing for this is. Digital readout, whatever, set up. So let's switch on and touch off and 0 it. Touched off there. So let's move this out. Go in. Let me check. 36 valve. Lock that. Okay. Run flat. Take this out, turn it round, put it against our stop. Now what I'm going to do, just to be on the safe side, is I'm going to check that touching off is at 0. So let me wind that back to 0. This must be fascinating, just watching that while I'm doing this. Okay, that's set to 0. It should just touch on. So, you know, we're working right, so let's take this. Drop it down again. Right, let me do the other 2 and then I'll bring you back. Right, so there it is done. 3/4 spanner. Alright, so that's that done. Right, so there's that. Now a little pivot piece. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to weld that. We'll sort the end out. We're going to weld that on there. And that is 1/2 inch 4130, so that's nice and strong. And then we'll put a pedal on this end and a little thing for the clevis. So first of all, let's sort this end out. Right, well, as you can hear, it's pouring down again, so I'm afraid you have to bear with the noise. Right, I'm having to make this in 2 pieces because although you don't see it here, of course there's the piece of plate that matches that piece, so that's as much as it can go. So I've got this piece here, and what I'm going to do, I think, is put that on the piece of that on there, to bring it out to be the footrest. Actually, that could do with being a tighter bend. Now we can make that up when we make the pedal, but I don't want the pedal to be too long. I don't want the pedal to have to stick out here. But where's my see, that's going to be there. And we've also got to think about the kickstart as usual. Won't be using this kickstarter. Actually, I could put a cut in this, couldn't I? Send that out. Let's try that. Now I've brought it out to here where the little foot pedal would go on, but I'm not going to finish that off because I haven't got the final kickstart. I've been trying to find one of those like the modern trials bikes. I've seen Triumphs with them on, so you must be able to get them with the splines. I don't really want one of those great big crank out ones, so I can leave that till last. What we're going to do now is make our piece to go on here and the little bit on there for the clevis and the cable to go on. Now this is the mounting piece. That's a 1/4 inch hole, which is actually the right size for that, and it's also the right size for the little nipple that will go through. They're both 1/4 inch. So that's going to go on there like that. So we'll put it on. Down there, I think, like that. Alright, so what we're going to do, take that out because it's a little bit of a transfer punch. Right, and we'll drill a couple of holes and tap them to 1/4 fine, 1/4 28. Well, I just had another bit of an annoyance. Drilled and tapped that one, and then the bit wasn't that sharp, so I thought, okay, I've got a couple this size. So I got another one out, drilled it, and it wasn't the right size. It was too big. So might make a pin to go in there, like a locating pin, and just one, because that's screwed on nice. That's nicely drilled and tapped. That is so annoying. So anyway, that's where it's going to go on. That's going to go in it like that, and then we'll have our thing underneath here, a little piece on here with the clevis on it. Okay. Well, I could make another complete one of these, come up higher, drill it again. But that was so annoying. Everything was going well. Alright, that's enough for the day. The rain stopped, so I'm going to stop as well. Right then, that was annoying me. So what I actually did was I took the original piece and welded it onto a new piece here, and as you can see I drilled it and tapped at the tops, and I was also actually able to slant that in slightly so it was more above the brake pedal, and as you can see I put the little piece on there, and there's our clevis. So let me move you around slightly. Now, as I mentioned, I haven't actually made the little pedal extension because I'm not sure about kickstarts yet. In fact, I'm wondering if this engine is going to be such low compression. And I know Bob's 350 says you can virtually start that by hand. If I can get a really nice easy swing, I might leave it so your foot bumps against that and just use this original pedal. Hang on, I'll show you that in a second. Anyway, so there's our cable, goes through. And if you watch that end, oh, I've got you on autofocus, I can hear it whirring when my hand moves in. So we're all set with that. Okay, so let me just show you what I'm talking about with the kickstart. Right, kickstart. I can't reach up and do the clutch lever as well at the moment, so we'll have to just... This is the original one that was on it. Now what I'm thinking of doing, because I could get one of those great big chunky ones. I was just looking at them, they weigh about £1.50. And I'm not even sure then when that folds out that it would miss this. It would certainly help things a little bit with the brake pedal, but what I'm thinking of doing is doing this like I did with my BSA originally when I used to flip up the footrest, and that is I'm going to bend this not inwards but in this lengthwise plane. I'm going to curve this around. It does two things. One, it moves it out of the way of your leg, but the other thing is, as with all the kickstarts, you see that's there, great, but it doesn't engage until it's there, so you've lost a few degrees of kick. Now if I curve it round so it's over here, when I put my foot on it, it'll still be right up here by the time I've taken that up. It'll be at least up here. That'll give me, 90 degrees. Now if this engine is easy to turn around, as I say, turn over as Bob's is, then that 90 degree might be enough of a kick to start it, in which case I can keep this nice little lever, and I think we'll see better when, as I say, I can pull the clutch in. I think I'll be able to clear enough brake pedal here so that you've got somewhere to put your foot on, but all that we'll look at shortly. So anyway, that's the back brake virtually finished. Right, well, I put the ignition coil on as well, just so I could see that all the wires and everything would be fine. But we have a change of plan, because I've just come up from lunch and I got an email from Martin, who's doing the cylinders, and apparently they're all done. So we're only as far away from them as long as it'll take to ship them in from the UK, which isn't long, maybe a week, something like that. One thing I still haven't done, because that's a little sort of sooner than I was expecting, is I don't have piston rings, because apparently for Nikasil I've got to have cast iron rings, and the standard Kawasaki ones are steel. Middle one might be cast iron, but that top one looks to be chrome plated, and these bottom ones are steel as well. So I'll have to get some piston rings. But also this afternoon I'll be phoning up about the Henderson pistons, and of course obviously the people that make pistons also make piston rings, so I'm going to talk to them about getting 3 or 4 sets of rings for these. I'll get extra sets because, like the little springs I always buy, the circlips, I always get extra of them because you lose one. And although I haven't broken a piston ring for years, it's always at the back of my mind, particularly with cast iron ones, that I might break them. So, as I say, that's going to make a slight change of plan. So what we're going to do in the interim, 2 things. We'll do some work on the bike, which is going to be put the front brake shoes in, which came the other day, and get a brake cable made. And also I'm going to pop the barrels and the head and everything on just loose, and we'll start on the plan for the tank. But the petrol tank is going to take a while, because I've got to make up a wooden buck, as it's known, for the shape and everything, and that's woodwork, which I'm not very good at. So that'll take a while. It's one of those things that'll take me forever, but will only be maybe one episode of the video. So while I'm doing that, I have another job that's come in for a friend, very interesting, which I'll show you a little later. Maybe leave it just till next week to show you that. But in the meantime anyway, let me get on and we'll do the front brakes and then we'll put together this part of the motor. Well, the saga continues. Everything for the brakes, the new bits, the old bits. No actuating cam. I've just searched all over for it. I don't believe this. By the way, I just checked to see if I could get a cable for it, and there was one on eBay for $240. Who's going to pay $240 for a cable? Alright, let me keep looking for this. Right, well, I've had my little temper tantrum. I thought, just to be on the safe side, I'd try the barrels. They wouldn't go on. Slid down the pistons because I didn't have any rings on, but they wouldn't go on. So I'm looking at it, and they seem to be over to one side. And I thought, damn, the pistons must be slightly offset because I didn't do any machining to the inside where the small end goes. So I took the pistons off, tried to put them on, still wouldn't go on. Do you know what it is? Look, actually there's a little mark. It's these Allen bolts I used. The heads are very slightly too long, they're sticking out. So let me deal with them. Well, there wasn't enough depth to use an Allen head, so I had to go back to a slotted screw head. Ridiculous. So went straight on. So there's the barrels on as well. Barrels, head, rocker boxes. So now we can look at how we're going to shape this petrol tank. Oh, by the way, still haven't found the cam for the front brake. So, the petrol tank. Right, what I've done is I've put that across there. That's going to be where I want to bring it to. So what I've also done is put a piece of green tape on here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's lots of little marks where I've been measuring. What I'm going to do is measure down from basically the center line of this tube to where I want to be at various points. And the width of the tunnel doesn't matter at this point. See, when I cut the sheet, we're going to have, say, 2 inches width here at the bottom, then there'll be like a 90-degree angle, then it'll go up over the tunnel and then be mirrored on the other side. So if I take it to the center of there, that's the center line of the tube. This is 1 3/4, so that would be whatever half the circumference of an 1 3/4 tube is. But if it was a 3-inch tube, it would still be from here to there. So it's going to be half the circumference of whatever size I decide it's going to be, probably about 2.5, plus this depth, plus the bit that sticks out for when I make the cardboard template. So I started with the template because what I want to do is I'm keeping it above the cylinder heads. I don't want it, doesn't need to be that low, but also it would get very wide. This I think is 7 inches, I measured it, across the rocker boxes, so it's going to be about that wide, and then it's going to come up over here, and as I said, that the center part will be 2.5. So what I want to do, because I don't want it to be too wide, and because it's, you know, this triangular shape, I don't want it to come like that. It would look strange. I'm going to get it to come down to match that line. So I cut this piece out. This is for making the tunnel. See, it's going to come down to there. I'll go to just in front of the tank. About run along that line. So it's going to be about like that. This is just sort of initial work. You can see I might have to trim a little bit off that. So this will be sticking out here. So what we're going to have here is a little curve down. So that's going to be the bottom line of the tank as you look at it, and it'll curve down along. I was looking at a bike the other day. What was I looking at? God, I can't remember. And the tank shape was just like this. I knew I'd seen one, but anyway. So that's what the inside's going to be like. That's going to go, as you can see, it goes high there. It actually needs cutting about here for when I make the template. So from that, I've got to decide where it's going to be. Now I've got to have it'll be offset slightly, but I can't have it too small because don't forget I've got to put a petrol filler in this. So this is sort of first go at the shape. Now I'm glad we're at the end of a video because what I'm going to be able to do is ask what you think. We can modify this shape a little bit. I did have it up here, a little bit higher, and it looked really humpbacked, it looked nasty. And I didn't know whether I should maybe slope it more here. Let me take you around the other side for a moment. Now I brought you around this side so that you can see approximately how much this sticks up. See, as I say, I've got to have a certain amount of height. I've got plenty of clearance, by the way, lock to lock. That's not a problem. But that's about what it would look like. I think that's not bad. Now, as I say, this is going to be interesting because this is my first attempt at doing this. So what I'm going to try and do, I don't want it to be angular. I don't want it to look like, do you remember the Mako tanks? Mako, depending on how I like to pronounce it. I've always said Mako. Which were, you know, just flats. There was no curves in it, I don't think at all. So it's got to be, see, it's got to be thicker here. Then it's got to curve in to there. And the same here. About this far back it's going to go inwards. So because it's going to curve on this vertical plane, if you like, going inwards or at least slope, and the same on horizontal plane, you know, we're going downwards. In order to make it so that there's the least amount of actual sheet metal work, the plan is to make it from about here to somewhere like that here, just straight over the top. So it'll go from there, straight over, straight sides. And then here, I'll probably make it in two pieces, sort of a mirror image for each side. We'll make a piece which curves in and curves like that as well. And the same here. Just make the curvy piece like that to take it in. Make one for each side, then this will all be welded up together. And then the seams will be cleaned up and it'll be planished and it'll look like one sheet. Alright, so that's the plan. Now, I still haven't found the cam for the front brake, but there were quite a few on eBay. In fact, I managed to get a brand new one. A brand new one for only $6. What's that? 4 quid. A couple of pound or so for shipping. So it was like $10 complete. So that's great. So that'll come. Now, this, as I say, I've got to make the wooden form and everything to do it. You'll see that when we come to do that. And that's the type of thing which takes me ages to do, but only gives you a couple of minutes of video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working on this for a little while. So in the interim, in the background, I'll be working on this in the background. The next couple of weeks we're going to have a different project. And then by the time we've done that, you'll see it next week and it's interesting. By the time we've done that, I should be ready to make the tank. So then we'll have a video about making the tank. Don't worry, I'm not just going to suddenly turn up and say here's the tank. You're going to see me make it. But I'll have all of the things. I'll have the cardboard templates made, the book and everything like that. And also by then we'll have the barrels. So we'll be ready to just finish off the engine, build the tank, put it on, right, and finish the project completely. So that's it for this week. There's a little bit of video on the end, and for a soundtrack, I think I'm right here, Thin Lizzy, Boys Are Back in Town. But anyway, you'll see. So until next week, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.